When it comes to making contact, there's few hitters in the world more consistent than New Giants outfielder Jung-Hoo Lee. I'm going to break down his swing mechanics, advanced batted ball data, defensive skills, and more to help explain why the Giants shelled out $113 million plus a $19 million posting fee to sign the 25-year-old Korean star. Lee made his KBO debut at just 18 years old for the Nexen Heroes, becoming the first player to make the leap from high school to a full KBO season on his way to winning the league's Rookie of the Year award in 2017. He's nicknamed Grandson of the Wind after his legendary father, Jung-Bum Lee, also known as Son of the Wind, whose speed helped him win an MVP award in 1994 and make 13 KBO All-Star games. In his 7 KBO seasons, the younger Lee has mashed to a 340, 407, 491 slash line while walking more than he struck out. He launched a career-high 23 homers in 2022 and was enjoying a nice 2023 season before a fractured ankle cut his year short in July. Lee's pre-swing moves are designed for him to see the ball as early as possible, and he gets to his launch position before the pitcher even breaks his hands, storing his energy in his backside with almost no weight on his front foot, holding his gather impressively well. Being in his slot this early is an advantage for Lee, but the reason why you don't see more hitters do this is because it's simply difficult to be able to hold your backside that long and not have a power leak forward prematurely. Lee's path to the ball is short and quick while staying on plane for a long time, and the barrel control is just ridiculous with the ability to get to any pitch in any spot. When representing South Korea in the World Baseball Classic, Lee told reporters that he hoped to lead the league in batting average once he made the leap stateside. It's a lofty goal that could potentially be attainable thanks to his excellence with 2 strikes. Since the start of the 2022 season, Lee has slashed 297, 339, 450 with 2 strikes. He's extremely patient early in the count and is able to get on base and work walks, swinging at just a 41% clip. But with 2 strikes, he gets more aggressive and does not want to leave it up to the umpire, seeing his swing rate jump to 66% when down to that last strike. A jump in swing rate is par for the course for most hitters at any level, anywhere you play, but so is a lower batting average and increased whiff. For reference, the average MLB hitter hit just 177 last year with a 42% strikeout rate when down to their last strike. Of course, MLB pitching is far more difficult for anyone with 2 strikes and will be more difficult for Lee, but his numbers when down to that last strike would be absurd pretty much anywhere at any level. Despite his 25% jump in swing rate with 2 strikes, Lee saw his swinging strike rate jump only by a decimal point while maintaining his comical 97% in-zone contact rate. With how difficult it is to get a pitch by Lee inside of the zone, pitchers have to try to get him to chase. But even then, he'll probably still get a piece of it. Lee's contact rate on pitches outside of the zone was 83% dating back to 2022. For reference, Luis Arias was the only player in Major League Baseball with an out-of-zone contact rate above 77% last season, checking in at 87%. It's clear Lee won't have much trouble putting the ball in play, even at the big league level. The question is, what will the quality of contact look like? Comparing Lee's batted ball data to MLB hitters who are in the contact-oriented bucket is somewhat apples to oranges, but it's a good reference point. Metrics like in-zone contact and line drive rate could take some sort of a hit against the best competition in the world, but a successful MLB version of Lee would likely share plenty of commonalities with the seasons of some of these players in the chart. Of this group of 6, Lee currently sits closer to Alex Verdugo and Alex Bregman in the exit velocity department. Of course, it's virtually impossible that Lee maintains his ridiculous 97% in-zone contact rate, as it's going to be a lot harder to consistently make contact within the zone when pitches are higher velocity and just nastier in general. In fact, the highest in-zone contact rate we've seen since we started tracking these types of things in 2015 was Daniel Murphy at 95.9% that same year. Assuming Lee dips towards the low 90% range in-zone contact, he would still roughly be about 10% above the league average and in lockstep with several of the names in this chart and exit velocities that might be on the higher end of this grouping. Bregman's combination of contact skills and loft is rare, making it unlikely that Lee matches the all-star third baseman's power output, but he has flashed the ability to squeeze out every drop of his fringy power. Most hitters see their swing rate jump a bit when ahead in the count, eager to leverage their advantage. Interestingly, Lee becomes more selective, not because he's looking to work a walk, but because he's hunting a pitch in the right spot that he can crush in the air. If it's not right there, he will happily take a strike, as he knows he has no problem hitting in deep counts. His average launch angle jumps from 12 degrees to 18 degrees when he's ahead in the count, coincidentally right on par with Bregman's overall average launch angle. The fact that Lee only shares that commonality in launch angle with Bregman when he's ahead in the count is already limiting to his power potential, relatively speaking, and in a pitcher's park like San Francisco, he's not going to enjoy the same benefit that Bregman does with the Crawford boxes in Houston, which has been huge for his power output. At the end of the day, Lee is going to make a living off of putting the ball in play on a line and finding the gaps. While he may not hit as many home runs as he would have if he signed with the Yankees to play in Yankee Stadium, there's going to be more room for him in that spacious outfield at Oracle Park, which is one of the most triples-friendly environments in the major leagues. Another key component to Lee is his outfield defense, which also is an asset in that spacious outfield. He's an above-average runner with a strong arm that he loves to cut loose. Since the start of the 2020 season, he's racked up 28 outfield assists in 436 games. He's flashed the ability to be a really good center fielder, tracking balls well to either gap and straight over his head. He also has a second gear that he kicks into, showcasing his closing speed on balls in the gap or coming in. Lee doesn't always get the best jumps on balls consistently and can rely on his speed to compensate from time to time, which could show up in the advanced metrics as he gets his feet wet in the big leagues. But he's also shown great instincts, always having an idea of where he is on the field, and especially in relation to the wall, showcasing that closing speed and athleticism to be able to lay out and make some highlight reel catches. This should also be a huge asset for the Giants, who have been looking to upgrade their outfield defense overall. So another big question is, what does the acclimation process look like for a player making the leap from KBO to MLB? That question is unfortunately impossible to definitively answer, as it is a case-by-case basis. However, we can hypothesize based on what we know about both leagues and recent players who may have made the move themselves. According to a Baseball America Scout survey, most evaluators placed KBO competition somewhere between AA and AAA, with none of the responses placing the talent level below AA. Much like a top prospect, it's important to acknowledge the probability of growing pains when being thrown into the best baseball league in the world. Though Jung-Hoo Lee and Ha-Sung Kim are different types of hitters, with Lee probably the better of the two, Kim is a helpful reference point in regards to what the acclimation process from the KBO could look like, with Lee also set to debut at 25 years old. I don't expect Lee to be as slow out of the gate as Kim's 622 OPS in his first season, but it wouldn't be surprising if Lee feels his way through his first year a bit as well. Kim saw his OPS jump to 708 in 2022, which was his second season, before upping it to 749 last year, his third season, with career best totals in virtually every category. From an underlying data standpoint, Kim's contact rates in 2023 were roughly 5% below his final season in the KBO, while actually maintaining his chase rates in the low 20% range. Kim is just one example, so it would be silly to draw any major conclusions from this precedent other than the fact that Major League Baseball is a different beast and talented hitters can make big leaps between seasons. Jung-Hoo Lee has such an impressive track record already that it's easy to forget that he's just 25 years old and still far from a finished product in his own right. Up until his injury-shortened 2023 season, he saw his OPS climb in 3 consecutive years, posting a 996 OPS in 2022 on his way to his first KBO MVP award. Generally speaking, a contact-oriented center fielder who plays good defense has a higher floor than most profiles, as it is a bit easier for such players to help their team and to produce a positive WAR. Some may balk at the $113 million price tag over 6 years for a player who has yet to play an MLB game, but if you look at the center field free agents and the overall state of the position, it's easy to understand why the Giants would take a chance on Lee. Other than Cody Bellinger, Lee could very well be the only center fielder in this free agent group who gets a multi-year deal this offseason. Last season, Luis Robert Jr. and Julio Rodriguez were the only two center fielders who ranked among the top 20 position players in F-WAR. The average OPS at the position barely eclipsed 700, with a premium being put on the defense out there. It's not outside the realm of possibility that the Giants picked up a player who could become a top 5 center fielder in the sport within the next couple seasons, with the potential to be even more than that through the duration of his 6-year deal. Even if that outcome is somewhat wishful, there's plenty of reasons to be confident in the fact that he should be a consistent contributor in San Francisco. Even if Lee is close to a league average hitter in his first season and the defense translates the way that many expect it to, he should be an upgrade in center field for most teams in baseball, including the Giants. What Farhan Zaidi and the entire Giants front office is betting on is the fact that the Korean star will be plenty more than that, and I like their odds.